Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
Reading my questions here, what do you make of Joshua's comeback after the Usyk losses, in your opinion?
I think he did what he had to do. I think they gave him easy opponents. But maybe that's what he needed to get back that confidence, to get that momentum back going. That's exactly what I got to do as well. So, he's doing his thing. He found himself. He found his motivation. But I do believe it's going to be a tough fight between him and Dubois.
And those are the words of Andy Ruiz concerning Anthony Joshua and his opponents. And he felt that the opponents were easy, okay? And let me counterpunch. I do think Andy is probably half right. I think that a lot of the opponents, especially last year, when you look at the 3 fights that he did fight last year, were easy, they were easier, put it that way, but then when you think about it, people, what does that really mean in the heavyweight division? Like the opponents was easy, because you had Jermaine Franklin. He fought him first based on how Jermaine Franklin fought Dillian Whyte. You know what I mean? Dillian Whyte's supposed to have done a better job with beating Jermaine Franklin. You know what I mean? And I think because of maybe his lack of performance, or the up game that Jermaine Franklin had, in coming into that fight, I think that's what gave Jermaine Franklin the opportunity to fight AJ. You know what I mean? Because, let's face it, in the public's eye, Dillian Whyte's supposed to beat Jermaine Franklin based on where he's supposed to be in the sport. His last fight before that was what and with who? And that was with Tyson Fury, the year before that. And the Franklin fight, yeah, he had Franklin hurt in the last round. He beat Franklin, but it wasn't like a landslide victory for Dillian Whyte. Therefore, they put Dillian Whyte to the side. And they gave Jermaine Franklin another opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua. And in that case, Anthony Joshua was looked at as, pretty much the same way they looked at Dillian Whyte, but more so because it's more pressure on AJ, because AJ is AJ. They were looking for another knockout, a guy that comes forward, a shorter guy, a guy that's not known to hit hard, a once undefeated guy before he fought Dillian Whyte. And, they thought, well, hey, you know what? The way Joshua fought him, that turned a lot of people off. Okay, so he was right in that. Now, the second fight, he was going to fight Dillian Whyte. Okay, so Dillian Whyte was going to get his opportunity to avenge his first loss in his career. And he had some type of weird adverse finding or whatever, once again, like 2019, right? And, that fight didn't happen, so they picked another opponent, which was Robert Helenius and himself, as we learned yesterday or this morning or whenever you've seen the video about Robert Helenius, that he is banned 2 years for testing positive for a PED or a banned substance. So, you know what I mean? So you had AJ, back to back with people that were, supposedly dirty, allegedly dirty, and their test wasn't the way it's supposed to be, and that's all negative. Okay, so we had that fight. Okay, but when we had Otto Weyland wasn't considered a easy fight, an easier fight than most, but not really an easy fight for a lot, because that particular guy gave Tyson Fury the blues. You know what I mean? He put Tyson Fury in a very difficult situation by cutting him twice with those massive cuts. And they allowed that fight to happen again and again and again, right? So, round after round, and I think that was the real beginning of AJ coming back based on what he made Otto Weyland do, which no one has made Otto Weyland do, and Then, of course, Francis Ngannou was a very, experimental fight anyway. But then here's my thing. Saying that AJ had easy opponents is true. But then saying Andy Ruiz is being very hypocritical is also true. Simply because you have made a career of fighting easy opponents in the last 5 years. When you were fighting, they were all easy. They were all fights that we knew damn well you would win and should win based on the way you picked them. You picked a 50-year-old man in Ortiz, and make no mistake about it, Ortiz is in his 50s, bro. Okay, it's been Cuban elites, athletes have confirmed Luis Ortiz is not 44 years old. You know what I mean? And when he found out Ortiz could not take that punch or take a punch, he knew, let's fight him now. Okay, so that's an easy pick'ems. Chris Arreola, another 40-year-old person, okay, that you decided to fight out of nowhere. You needed a tune-up after a whole year off. I get it or whatever, but you've lost all this weight. You're supposed to be faster, stronger, this, that, and the other. And he really, it was probably good for him that he did that because he wasn't. He didn't look strong. He didn't look faster. He's fast anyway for a fat guy. Now he's just kind of a smaller heavyweight guy with a big head. He just lost a lot of weight and found out he couldn't take the shots that Chris Arreola was giving him. Okay? He sparred Arreola before. So, that's something to, keep in mind. But, saying AJ had easy opponents, it's like saying, okay, well, like you haven't. You know what I'm saying? That's what gets me. I think his opponents were easy. And then let's look at Joshua for a minute before I forget. AJ was in a lose-lose situation until he started stopping and dropping. You know what I mean? Let's face it. AJ was in the shit house. Let's face it. He was in the shit house when people were looking for him to fight Wilder. And here's the jacked up thing about Wilder. Wilder ain't been in the ring, for a long time. This cat fought in 2022 and then fought half a round. And everybody was like, oh man, he's so dangerous. Look what he can do with that right hand, that right hand, that right hand. But he wasn't ready either. Okay? So, but everybody expected him to fight that one person. So, fighting Jermaine Franklin, instead of fighting Zhilei Zhang, even if he would have fought Zhilei Zhang at that time, and he would have had a tough performance with Zhilei Zhang, based on what we know now in hindsight, people would have called Anthony Joshua a duck. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing about it. You would have been calling him, hey, an easy pick'ems. Like, why didn't you fight Wilder? Because that's the only thing. That was the person that, everybody wanted him to fight. And knowing now what we know about Wilder, Wilder wasn't prepared anyway to fight anybody. You know what I mean? He was going through personal shit, having to take ayahuasca and all that stuff to kind of calm him down. And we just thought it was because of Tyson Fury, playing mind games and giving him those beatings. And it was a lot more than that combined with, with that. But no, for Andy to say that, though, it's very contradicting and hypocritical. It really is, because you got a guy that, you fought and you beat, then you lost miserably. It was embarrassing how Andy just thought Anthony Joshua was going to do the same dumb shit that he did the first fight. Like, well, let me catch him. And it showed you that Andy Ruiz has no true adversity. He just wants someone to come forward. Why do you think he's fighting Jarrell Miller? He's fighting Jarrell Miller because Jarrell Miller is a come forward fighter. But, needless to say, to be fair, that's what Jarrell Miller wants. He wants somebody that's going to come at him and try to, break his will, not box him like Dubois did, you know what I mean, and things of that nature. He wants someone to come close to him so he can catch you. He wants you to be easier to hit. Like, well, but why would you want to be hit or make it easier to be hit? You see what I mean? So, to compliment these guys' preference and style, it's stupid. But Andy saying that is the last person, people, that should be talking about picking easy opponents. But you guys tell me what you think of Andy the Destroyer Ruiz accusing Anthony Joshua of picking easy opponents on his comeback. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.